everybody. Yankee and The Canuck. We're back. It's good to see Edward. We got Edward with us. He's the Canuck. I'm the Yankee. Wearing
Yes.
the North
Hey.
Carolina hat. Oh, listen, this one's got a bear on it. So hey, listen, we're inviting Putin. If you want to come down and ride a bear, you can do it in North Carolina.
Right there.
We totally watch it. Man, we'll do it. We can do it live. F it, we'll do it live. Putin riding a bear in the North Carolina mountains. That would be awesome. Edward, how are you doing?
Very good for this Good Friday. It was a great day, good holiday. And you know what? If it wasn't for Christianity, we wouldn't have all these holidays. I keep reminding people of that one fact everybody seems to forget about. You'd be working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day if it wasn't for Christianity. And before that, of course, Judaism. So we got to be thankful and a lot to be thankful for. So that's why today was a great day. I hope you had a good one too.
I did. Actually, you reminded me of something before we dive in. So the Christ created the 12 tribes. One of them was the Jews. One of them was all right. It was definitely the Jews. The rest, he created tribes, and he created tribes. This was in the First Testament, right? But
Hmm.
the Jews persist into the Second Testament, right?
Well, yeah,
Right,
Jude or
right.
Judea, coming from that one uh, son Jude. Yeah, that's correct. That's one of them. That would be the central one, I guess. When you're looking at the one of the tribes being the priestly or the Levites, the priestly tribe from Levi. Yeah, that's where we get that name from, or what that comes from. But yeah, that's correct. And the other tribes, yeah, a lot of interesting history. If you read the book of Numbers, how they set up the camps, in a certain organized manner, with the population each of the three combined tribes had for where they went north, east, south, west. It was very, what it made was a cross, and no one seems to realize that. But you have to look and see how balanced, you know, the one side was to the other, and then the top, the tribe of Benjamin being almost wiped out a long time ago and very small, and the top of the cross, of course, with those three being smaller, and then the bottom being so long with all the members that had. It's just quite interesting to see and watch the whole thing on history uh, unfold, and even the what do you call that? When you're looking into the future, the name escapes me. I can't think of it. When you're can't think of it. Don't matter. It's gone. Yeah. Now go on.
Yeah, no, I'll bring that back in a later. But it's Good Friday. I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about Good Friday and what that meant. And listen, there's a lot of people that maybe don't go to church, or they're church adjacent, or maybe they're Jesus curious. And
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this this might be one of the only times listening to the podcast that they get to hear a little bit of the story of Good Friday. And I thought
Yeah.
we'd talk about it and talk about the tribulations of the day, just of Friday of
Mhm.
Jesus, as he had to get to the mount.
Oh, yeah. You mean for the crucifixion? You mean the not what was that, Golgotha, Mount or Hill of Skulls is what it means. So
Yeah,
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 having
yeah.
to
Hill of
get
Skulls.
there, carrying that cross after being beaten half to death, and whipped and spit on and kicked and you name it. Yeah, what a stressful time to put the body under and still carry that great big heavy cross all through town up the hill. Yeah, that I couldn't, can't imagine. So what? Yeah, you have to be in pretty good shape to do that. Most people would stroke out. So you could imagine, and maybe being a carpenter was more of a, well, they all had trades. Everybody had to learn a trade of some sort. Back in the day, you just couldn't, be except for the tribe of Levi, of course. That was they were going to be priests. We already knew that, but everybody else had to learn. Paul was a tent maker, and of course Jesus the carpenter. That was just Jewish tradition. You always had to learn and do something you could always fall back on, no matter where you went or what happened. You weren't reliant on anybody. You could look after yourself through trade. So yeah, an interesting fact there. Uh, Probably not a very needed fact, but I had to for some reason go on with that one.
No, it is, and it's important because I brought up the 12 tribes. But
Oh yeah,
listen, so well, because you walk through the day of Good Friday, right?
yeah, ah,
He's
yeah.
already he's already beaten.
Uh-huh.
He's carrying this massive, heavy cross, and he keeps going. Whereas what I wanted to bring up is that most people who went through a Roman Catholic crucifixion never made it to crucifixion. They died in the process because their bodies could not handle it. They
Oh,
couldn't they
yeah.
couldn't do it.
Can you? Yeah,
But Jesus knew, I have to finish this. This is the only way. This is what the Father said
yeah,
is going to happen, and I have to finish this. So as a man, he did. He finished it, right? Ah, there you go. I like
favorite
it.
cup.
America. He did
Yeah,
it,
he had to. He
and he
definitely.
did it without sinning. He did it without
Yeah, no,
thought, like evil thought. He did it without any sin.
no lashing out, no words, no crying out, nothing. Just stayed silent and just took it, and even walking with everybody, jeering, yelling, screaming, beating him, berating him, spitting on him, whatnot, still carrying that cross, up the hill, and then finally to be nailed to it after all that,
Oh, can
and
you
then
imagine?
I
Can you
know,
imagine
yeah, no, I
through
can't. Yeah, that would,
here, and then through, right above your ankles? Could you imagine
yeah,
the
yeah,
pain?
no. Well, you know what? I think he had enough pain then that I think at this point he was just barely just trying to stay alive. I couldn't imagine getting hoisted up there, being suspended off your arms and feet, and how that would feel. I don't know. I don't even want to know. But yeah,
So
yeah.
do you remember what he said to the thief to his right before he
Oh,
passed?
that's yeah. Didn't we just talk about that? Who were we talking about for 2 days
I
ago?
think it was with
About the thief on the
Booker.
cross.
I
Oh,
think it was
Booker,
with
yes, of
Booker.
course. Yeah, he brought that point, and good for him bringing that point up, because what a remarkable story. Now, this is, remember, we're in the transitional stage now of going from one testament into another, from the old crossing over into new. So our Father has a new will and testament for us now to follow. Right after the death of Christ, that's going to become apparent. But up till now, we're still following the old law. And to have him say that, and recognize that, hey, this guy's done nothing wrong. I mean, the other guy's jeering at him and joining in with the crowd, as far as all the remarks and everything going. And Jesus said, hey, wait a minute. This guy hasn't, we deserve to be here. This guy hasn't done anything wrong. What are you doing? And that's when he asks him about going into the promised land or paradise, as he says it. And then Christ at that moment says, yes. It's funny. I was just talking about this earlier on today, too, where the temple was destroyed. Why? Because the Jews did not recognize Jesus for who he was in the time he came. As he said, they did
Sure.
not recognize me. And you know what? These are supposed to be professionals and very proficient at reading the law all the time, praying, reading the law, expounding on the law to the people and whatnot. They're supposed to be following this oh so closely. And then the Savior comes. They don't recognize him. They don't even know who the guy is. I mean, just walks right by. Of course, they get angry because he professes, and says, talking about being the Savior in so many terms, and they get so mad they want to stone him, throw him off a cliff, and everything else they had. But you know what? He just walks right through the crowd, and he finds himself, in, well, I guess it was the healing of the near the pool at that time. But nonetheless, I can't believe that after all that, the Jews don't recognize him, but the thief on the cross does, and says, "Yeah, of course. This is the guy. This is the Christ." Even the soldier at the bottom said the same thing. This had to be the Son of God, and the thief on the cross recognized him. And of course, the Jews don't. Well, I should say the majority, not all of them, because some did, of course. Well, then, he does, and he gets to go to. Now, remember, this guy has no knowledge of, the faith and any doctrine, anything, any knowledge. We don't even know if he even went to the synagogue. We have no idea. Probably did, because that was a custom for all of them. I'm assuming he was Jewish. Don't even know that for sure. I can't remember reading anything that would suggest that. But to have him recognize him on the cross, when he's near death, Christ is near death, and yet, the other ones,
Yep.
joining the crowd, this guy, nope, recognizes almost instantly and actually gets to the promised land. What
Well, so
a great story that was. I'm glad
at
Booker
that
brought that
time,
one up, too. That's a good lesson for all of us.
well, at that time, right? This is pre-Easter, and so Perdicium or like the holding place was the place where people went where they
Yeah.
died. And
Just,
so he was telling, like, so the story of
yeah.
paradise wasn't yet what it was post Easter
Uh,
Sunday, but he said, "You will be with me in English, current English. It's you will be with me in paradise." It was still a holding place. You haven't gotten to the gates of heaven, but you're definitely not going to hell. I'm taking you with me to this holding place in the spiritual realm. Am I wrong?
yeah, you know what? There was so much controversy on that whole thing because the Catholics, of course, believe in purgatory. We don't.
Right.
Now, there is a passage in the New Testament with the rich man and Lazarus, where Lazarus didn't get the good things in life, but the rich man did. And when he died and Lazarus died, of course, the big chasm that was placed between them, where they couldn't cross over sides, and that basically gives us an insight into what really happens. But we're pretty much asleep and dead unless these special circumstances arise, which did, and this is New Testament we're reviewing right now, not new, but in the Old Testament, what was revealed through that, I thought was interesting, and how how the Catholics got into purgatory. Let's not even talk about that. That's a that's a 10-hour discussion. We could be on this thing for hours. But yeah, and
Fair
we're not
enough.
going to tonight. No, we're not going to tonight. But
Fair enough.
yeah, so just to know, and have that level of comfort that by the time we close our eyes and open them back up again, we'll already be there. We won't even notice any time. Even if it's been 1,000 years, it won't seem like anything because it's just like shutting off the computer and turning it back on again. It doesn't know the time lapse. It will have no idea. Just turn off and turn back on whenever. Same as us. That's exactly our end there. We're just going to go to sleep, open our eyes, and it will seem like we just blinked and there we are. So yeah, that's because there's so many different interpretations to Thessalonians and the rapture and the second coming. And everybody's, because I don't think they do enough reading or take enough time, invest enough of themselves in the Bible or our Father, that they probably don't even really want to know. It's mostly all guesswork at this point because they really don't want to take the time to realize what's going on. They're just going to take somebody else's word for it and run with it, which, yeah, our very lives are on the line here. Let's not let's not leave it all to guesswork, as so many do. Yeah, if your life is at stake, I would definitely invest a few minutes and find out exactly where you're going. Give yourself that, I don't know what they call it, that confidence, yeah, that's just confidence of where we're going afterwards. It changes how we live and think. I mean, because we're already living forever. We're not living to die. We're living to stay alive. And there's a big difference between the non-Christians who are just living every moment now because they know they're going to die. They've rejected God. He hasn't rejected him. Uh, them, I mean. They've rejected him, which is why they end up in hell. Not because of the fact that God just doesn't like them anymore. No, they haven't given him the time of day for their entire lives, and all of a sudden now that they think that, well, now that I'm dead, I'm going to spend all my time with God now, but you wouldn't spend 5 minutes with him down here when you had the chance. Well, all of a sudden now you think that because we're in heaven, we're going to spend all this time. Well, that doesn't even make sense. We talked about that. God, I can't remember. That was a few shows ago now. I don't think it was with Booker for that one, but it could have been. I don't remember. But yeah. So yeah, what a day today
It
was.
might have been when we were doing stuff on X. To my X
Oh
friends.
yeah, that could have
Sorry,
been.
I
Yeah.
don't know why the link didn't catch. We're not live on X, but we'll send it to you. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no. It's fascinating, right? And it's Good Friday, and that's why I kind of really wanted to talk about this. But
Yeah.
you look at just government over time, right? Socialism. That's the that's the
Yeah.
so-called Russians.
Yeah.
Communism. That's the so-called Chinese. But this idea of right, this idea has been going on for much longer than that.
Well,
Those were the
Rome
first
was.
two countries that were able to make it happen through force,
Yeah.
right? Caused
Even
World
Rome
War
was.
Two. Caused
Yeah.
World War
Even
Two.
Rome back in the day was communist. I mean, you weren't free to do as you wanted. Let's not make any
Nope.
mistake on that. Rome was very communistic in rule. So yeah, it's not like we've fallen far from the tree as far as how we ended up, or I should say how Catholicism ended up, because it kind of followed exactly the footsteps of Rome and its government. So there
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be any surprises there. And you can go back, way before then. I think of all the freest societies I've read and studied so far, it's got to be the Persians and how they did things, which is wow. I mean, even the three supposed three kings that came, and there is no record of three kings. There was three gifts. Everybody thought, well, how did it be from three different people? Nah, and it wasn't just
Is
three
that where
people.
that? Hey, I got an odd question. Is that where the song comes? We three kings of Orient are.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the one.
Wow.
Yeah, that was so. Yeah, and it actually, because the Parthians and the Romans were at such odds. I mean, those 400 years between testaments were anything but silent years. I mean, that's when the Parthians and the Romans were beaten across. They had huge wars over those 400 years where Parthians would just waltz in there and just clobber the Romans. I mean, decimate them, one out of every 10 at least, for sure. And then, a couple, maybe years or maybe a decade later, the Romans would go and invade them and try to take them over. It was a back and forth for so long. So, they were afraid of the Parthians, absolutely terrified of them, and so were they of Roman getting invaded too. So it was a perfect balance with the Armenians, Armenia, and Jerusalem or Israel, right in the middle. It was a buffer zone type of thing. And of course, they favored the Parthians. So if they were going to invade Rome, they didn't care. Go ahead, walk on through. We don't care. But interesting fact: these three kings are supposed people that were presenting these gifts to find this new king of the Jews when they came from Persia, the Parthians. You know, there was a whole entourage, a huge army. There must have been who knows how many they would have had, but the king was terrified. As it even we can read in there, he was nervous. I mean, oh my God, we're getting invaded again. So looking for this new king. All of a sudden that offsets what he's doing there because he's supposed to represent the king of the Jews. What do you mean? There's some new king, some baby that's going to be born. And so yeah, the whole thing was quite a story, and that's why the king was going to kill him. Advance on this entourage and kill him off. That's why that they had that dream at night, and they went a different way back. It said, to their home. They didn't come back the way they were supposed to and tell the king where this new king of the Jews was. No, told them to go to a different way home, and they followed that way. So they never did get to go back to see the king. But anyways, that doesn't really matter because they never see each other again. He died later on after that. Anyways, King. Herod.
Yeah,
Herod.
right. That
That
guy.
destroyed us.
I
So
don't remember. I don't
yeah,
remember either.
you know what? Everybody, Mark Antony was old. The general for Rome, he was old, so they couldn't take another attack from the Parthians, and everybody knew that. But then again, the Parthians were very weak too, and they couldn't take an attack, but nobody knew that. From the Romans, everybody's kind of equal at that time. There's all pretty much petered out both sides. So it's a good thing that one didn't advance on the other because they would have wiped them out if they had that strength. But nonetheless, that's where things stood back in those days. But going
I'm
back up to Good Friday, yeah, what a day and what a great ending Sunday to actually fold those. There's something else that's the turn of Christ and what you can see his face. But now he folded his grave clothes in the grave before he left. Now, he did that for a reason because he ain't going to use them again. There's no need for them. I don't know what the rules were for touching dead bodies. I know for the one tribe, the Goathalites, couldn't even go near dead things. So I don't know how they handled grave clothes that were already used. And, well, someone that's been in the grave so long, no one's going to be wanting to do that anyways. I don't know what the standards were, but the fact that he folded them neatly in piles, actually, left for good. He's not going back. He came out of the grave, never going back, and had things folded. What a surprise! So yeah, that's another good part of the story. You can get a lot out of that too, of why he did that. But yes, Denise the carpenter, very good.
all right. I got a question. Have the Catholics ever accepted the fact that they were the ones that killed the Christ child?
Uh, well, the Jews did. I mean, all the Jews did. I mean, that was the whole point of the, Hosanna or Hosanna, we say, but it's actually Hosanna. You save us is what that
So
means.
it
When the
was
whole
the
city was
Jews, not the Roman Catholics.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
Catholicism wasn't even around. That didn't come up like 500, 600 years later. Yeah, that's
Okay.
like fifth, 6th century Catholicism. Now they say Peter was the first pope, which is a load of garbage. I
So,
mean, no
all
one.
right, all
That's
right,
just
all right,
absolute bizarre.
the question specifically was,
All
who
right.
has anyone accepted the fact that their religious group killed the Christ child?
Well, the Jews did that. That's what that when they said, Hosanna, when he was coming in to the city riding on that donkey, and they were saying that, and they were also
With the
saying,
palm leaves.
let his blood be on our heads and our kids' heads. Well, that certainly did happen, didn't it? Because that's exactly what the sacrificial lamb actually did with Passover. Going back to leaving Egypt, with the blood on the doorpost, the slap 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 type of thing, painting that over
Right.
their doorposts and header. So yeah, that was very important that they did all of that. But this, did the same thing, only in a different way, in a forever way, where we don't have to have these sacrifices every time and every year and all our sins. So
Right. We
yeah,
don't
this is
have the
done.
Noah flood anymore. God
Yeah,
promised
right. No,
us
yeah, that was the most
he won't
sufficient.
just kill us on
Yeah.
Earth because we're assholes.
Oh
He'll
yeah.
kill
Well,
us later because we're
true.
assholes, and that's
Well,
totally true.
I don't even
No,
know
no,
if
no. You
we
can
are.
still get salvation if you're an asshole, but there's a way to do it.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't even think if we are going to be suffering or punished for eternity, where's the killing? We just keep going through the pain forever. That just seems so appealing. I'm not built for all that heat. I can't do that. That's why I'm
Dude,
going a
I'll
different
be
route,
stuck.
people.
Listen, I'll be stuck married to my ex-wife for eternity, which
Yeah.
is at least 1,000 years. No, thank you.
I
Jesus,
think
what do I need to do?
yeah, yeah. That's why it's important we turn about face and follow. There's already simple laws and rules too. It's not like he piled on a whole bunch of things on us that we can't do or that are hard because they're not. They're easy to do. A few basic rules. I mean, don't kill people. That's or murder is actually the word. And don't steal, don't cheat, don't and be honorable to your parents and and don't cover or desire things that aren't yours. Live your own life, not what somebody else has or their lives. You have your own life to live and lead, so go ahead and do that, but not off everybody else's back. That's up to our Father to provide that. But I guess that comes through faith too, so you got to know that. Anyways, yeah, that's where that whole thing ends and comes out. Not a very hard thing at all. But why we can't do it perfectly? Wow, there's so much confusion, so much interference, there's so much working against us. It's tough to uh, actually live out that word love. I mean, even just understanding what it means and then having to walk it out every day. What a difficult battle because human pride, silly human pride, as that old song from Burton Cummings, I think, said, saying that, came out with, it's so true because everybody wants to feel special and important and, 10 feet tall and bulletproof. I'm the best, the fastest, the strongest, the smartest, blah, blah, blah. Look at me, the whole world. And you know what? That's the opposite of love. That's pride right there. And that's what we're supposed to be turning away from. But no, while we're here and taking this time on earth, however much time it's going to be, we don't even know that. Any day could be our
Nope.
last. But
Nope.
people got to live that way because while we're here using up this time, we might also feel important, have people feel or make us feel important. So, hey, there we go. But yeah, that's just not that's not for us. We're supposed to be Christian. Nothing wrong with being in those positions, of course, or being wealthy beyond all means. But know where it came from and be thankful that you're in that position, not the opposite. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. But yeah, what a day today. Hmm.
For sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
and then Sunday's coming where he, is rising and never going back. That's another good day too coming up in a couple of days. So
It will be. It will, obviously, we'll be worshiping that day. We won't be on doing a podcast, and
right,
that's
yeah,
significant. So, I often tell people that Christmas is the reason. Christmas is it's the start of the season for Easter.
yeah,
Because
it truly is.
he
Now
had to
we,
be born. He had to be born for
yeah,
him to do this important task, so that you wouldn't just get washed out by plagues or
yeah,
get drowned by floods.
no, no,
But
it's
for punishment for your sin, he sent his son, right, to do this for you.
Yeah. And you know what? I can't believe how many people get caught up on such silly, stupid things like, well, he wasn't really born on December 25th. That wasn't his real
Yeah,
birthday. I'm thinking, well, we all know that. I mean,
yeah.
and why the Romans had pegged it on that, for the solstice, I don't care. We have to pick a day. The one that comes most to mind is, and I forget the guy who mentioned this to me, was September the 29th or in March, and I can't remember the day in March were probably his birthdays, depending on which you want to go through. And I'm going to go with March because September 29th is my birthday. And I'm going to say that it wasn't in the fall. It had to be in the spring because the shepherds were with their sheep, it says at that time. And that's going to be in the springtime, not in the near the winter time. So I'm going to say springtime would probably be more accurate. But then I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing. But those would be the two times of year that his birth would have taken place. And I'm going to go with the March date because it sounds most logical to me. But yeah, we already know it's not December 25th. People shut up about that already. My God, people just get so caught up on the nonsensical, unimportant things. And I don't know why, but just it annoys me. They have to focus just on that because they don't even know why themselves, but they just, heard it from somebody else thinking, yeah, yeah, that's right. Anyways,
All right, I'm gonna really, really irk your thought processing.
okay.
Does Allah have a Christ-like child? Does Allah have a
did, you,
human?
did you have to bring that guy up? Oh my God, Allah. Uh, you know what? They've tried to copy as best they can, yeah. And remember, I've said this before. There is nothing about the Islamic faith that you go from the first century, second century, third, fourth, fifth, sixth century. There's nothing, no historical records, no monuments, nothing about these people. They had nothing in all those centuries, not one thing. Where's their history books? Where's all there's nothing happened back in those days. Nothing. Nothing recorded. So who they say they were around for how long? No, nothing. It's all just a big farce. So yeah, they try to make a pretty close comparison story to Christian or the Jews, but yeah, that's just yeah. You can even 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 reading some of that stuff was so ridiculously untrue. And we know from the history there was no temple in the Jews. So how can Muhammad and his leaders, step foot in the temple when they overtook that land? There was no temple, none at all. So what do we just know the whole thing's just false. But I guess they don't read it, so they would
But
never know. They
but
just
but
follow
but
these dumb dumb leaders and
wait.
believe them.
But doesn't this remind you, like, well, you could do current day, but doesn't just look back over your past? Doesn't this remind you about a political ideology and not about Christ? And I'm being honest here because
Doesn't
when you start talking about these things, and I'm doing hand movements for no reason at all for everybody that's
got the
listening.
Jimmy arms going, the Jimmy hit, yeah.
Yeah, everybody that's listening, listening only on one of the platforms like Spotify or iHeartRadio. They like no, they. Good Lord, Edward, they they're just doing the same thing from 2,000 years ago that they're doing now as whatever party in your country. It's the progressive party, the left party, the well in Germany you would call it the right party, which we could argue that's
Hmm.
incorrect.
Hmm.
Australia, the Democrats are the right party, not the left party. Well, all of this is meant to confuse and divide, right?
Yeah,
And that's what it is, and that's what the devil's work is confusion and division.
correct.
And he
Yeah,
wants that.
yeah. And remember, you know what? Uh, we've talked about this on X Spaces about how closely tied politics and religion are. There is no getting away from that. The freedoms were allowed in Christ, and hey, that's the gist of the whole thing right there. As far as the West goes, both countries, America and Canada, were founded on God, the nations by God. Our Father was at the front of the whole thing. The very cornerstone of our societies were founded and based off that, being the supreme being and over us and everything, and the freedoms through Christ that we are allowed because of those religious freedoms we have, and as a society. The communist countries don't like that. You worship government and leaders, not God, not Jesus. As a matter of fact, the most offensive name in the world today is Jesus Christ. You can't say that and not have a raised eyebrow from somebody or whatever because it's a hated name. You looked at some type of Jesus freak or goofball or I don't care what the name is, but yeah, you're not looked on very highly from many people in the world because it is a name that everybody's against. I don't care if you're Muslim, Hindi, Buddhist, whatever. Yeah, they're not going to like that name at all. So yeah, that's why we are the way we are as the West goes. So you can't take that away from them. They're going to try. They're going to try to do that through different means and whatnot, but it's so ingrained in our cultures. You change that constitution, people, you might as well throw the rest of it in the garbage because it's going to mean nothing. It's not going to mean a thing. You change any words of those constitutions, and that is one special constitution you have. Being a republic, a constitutional republic is, to me, one of the most perfect set up societies that we've ever seen. And yeah, the Democrats want to change that, and for obvious reasons, because once you change a bit of it, the whole thing is junk. It's useless. So you got to keep it intact as it is and follow it. And that's the problem we have up here. Nobody wants to follow. Our politicians don't want to follow our Constitution. The RCMP doesn't want to follow our Constitution. The lawyers and judges don't want to. So, but they think all the people should. I mean, if they're not following the Constitution, who's gonna? We're not. So, under the whole country goes into chaos and then slips into socialism and then communism, which is exactly where we're at now. So, in this election coming up,
Which is
Sean, we
terrifying.
got
Which
to
is
go
absolutely
conservative. So we
terrifying.
I
Uh,
know you guys went through the same thing, and you actually picked the winner, Donald Trump. Not being the Democrat dum dums that you had to choose from. Thank goodness you didn't go that route. Although you got a lot of votes for that. Thank goodness you actually picked Trump, the majority. and we're thankful for that. Now we have to do our job, our part, and pick the right person for the job today, the right party, really, because our system's a little bit different than yours. We don't vote on a prime minister; the party selects him. We have to pick the right party, and that's not communist red as far as liberalism goes, or socialism, which is actually the NDP, which is another nightmare story. But yeah, so picking the right party, having the conservatives come in another, what, 10, 11
Well,
days,
all
sort
right,
of thing. We need that. We need
let's
that.
jump. Let's jump into that for 5 minutes.
What's that? Which part?
No other country in the world votes directly for a presidential candidate.
I didn't know that.
Because
It was just you guys
right,
that did that voted
it's
directly.
us. It's
I
U.S.
didn't know it.
only.
Oh,
U.S. only.
mhm.
And so when they say democracy, people are voting for a party. And we really kind of need to walk through that. What does that mean? And what does it look like in Canada? Because Canada is a perfect example of what happens in the rest of the West outside of the United States. People don't realize they're not voting directly for Pollier or for Carney, like from America. They don't get that. Because in America, right, they get the choice to vote directly for a candidate for president at the federal level
Right. Yeah.
or voting for a party.
Yeah. Uh, you know, Although it's very important to get the right president, and we've talked about this too. It's also very important to elect the right ones down ballot on the municipal level, because that's where most of the changes happen, anyways, from school boards to all the way up. So, yeah, voting for your and I can only say our counties. I don't know. You guys have counties there too, but getting that right in each county, it starts there first. The president, if you can get everything in line, that would be just the topping or a cherry on top of the whole thing right there. But yeah, the whole thing has to work together, and I don't think many people realize that. You just get a president from the right party that you want. That doesn't mean he can do much. You still need to have everybody else behind him uh, to make things work. From Congress. You're American. You already know this. So we have ours. It's so much different. It's not. I'm not. I'm not. I don't even like constitutional monarchies because they never work for the people. I could give you
Nope.
so many stories, which is why America kicked England's ass out of there because they already recognized that and had this brand new constitution that had, freedoms and the pursuit of happiness and everything attached to it. You don't find that in any other country, by the way. You can try looking for it, but it's not there. That's why everybody runs to where? The West or to America because it's not the same. It's not run by some religious cult like Islam where you have to do this and do that and dress this way and oh yeah, pound your woman out every day just because she's a woman and the animals are worth more than her. There's none of that here, and we have to be thankful for that. That we've copied, and because I guess we're so Americanized as Canadians, anyways. We're almost the same. I mean, we pretty much live the same just because of that whole setup. So I guess it doesn't really matter much. But yeah, the West is supposed to be different, and I can't believe we're sliding so fast into this communistic way of living, thanks to
I,
the United Nations, which again,
listen. I think you're going to see things change over the next 4 years. Hopefully,
if we
um,
stay around long enough, yeah, I can't
as long
see
as
it,
we
but
can
yeah,
stay around long enough.
right, right, yeah.
And you're gonna have to like people are gonna have to start looking at Trump and going, where does he rank on the best presidents list? And he's close to the top right now. He's close to Abraham Lincoln. He's close to
Oh, yeah.
George Washington. He's not there yet. Listen, and people will always criticize thoughts, but I've got a worst list too. And you guys are all going to go, well, it's Joseph Robinette Biden. Well, yeah, no, sort of. I've
You
got a
know what?
worst list that he's on, but no.
You know
There's
what?
we've had some awful presidents,
Oh
but
God, yeah. Carter being,
going back to what you were saying, as far as moving to America first, of course, and
mhm.
then West first,
Yeah.
whatever you guys are going to do. I've already, like, I need to, let's do this on the podcast. There's two rules to Trumpism. The first
Love
rule is
those.
Trump wins. First rule
The
is
second,
Trump wins. Second rule is a deal
make
can
it make.
always be
Yep.
made as
Yeah.
long as it adheres to the first rule.
Well,
So it's
yeah.
not about what Trump says. So when everybody goes and freaks out on the internet that Trump said we're buying Greenland, or Trump said the Iranian nuclear deal's off, or Trump, don't listen. Listen,
Yeah.
I got to be
Uh,
very clear. No, no, no. Hold on. I know it. Like the whole rest of the world just goes, Trump said something. Hold
well,
on.
of course.
It's
Yeah.
not about what Trump says. Ultimately, it's about rule number two. What's the deal? What
Yeah.
deal is he
And
going to
you
win?
can always be. Yeah. And you know
Right?
what?
Because
You
he
got to
always
think of this though.
wins. So what's the deal he's going to get? Stop focusing on Trump's words.
He's also a fair person too. He's not a scammer. He puts his heart and soul into lots of different things people don't see, and that's okay too. But remember, he's not doing going out there making these incredible deals to scam people. He knows companies. Which means if he knows how companies run, he knows how countries run. So he knows already a lot more than the fundamentals. I'm just going to say he knows them too, but a lot more in depth than just the fundamentals. So it's going to be pretty tough for you to pull a scam over on him. And I think because he knows all those basics, he's just going to play it right down the middle and be as fair as, of course, in America's favor, but be as fair as possible to the other people or countries as well. We know that's true about Trump. We've seen it, we witnessed it. So he's not just some guy out there going to overtake the world. No, he's going to do it through fairness, of course, too. So not that anybody's going to suffer unless, well, your sworn enemies, like we've mentioned a few of those already. Then yeah, all bets are off there.
Yeah, but
He
yeah, all
can't come at
right,
him.
but right, like even if your sworn enemy, he's going to treat it different. He's not a Bush style president
Oh,
where he's
thank
like,
God.
I'm just going to destroy you with bombs. He is, I'm going to destroy you through trade, which is important to look
Well,
at. And he has
well,
the total capability to do that, even though Rand Paul wants to limit his capability. I like. Uh,
I've
uh,
seen that.
we can have an
Yeah.
argument about Rand Paul. I
Well,
like Rand Paul,
okay.
but he's a
Yeah.
libertarian.
Oh God,
Libertarians.
I love
Remember
that
what
word.
Rush said about libertarians?
Yeah, I got to hear it again. Yes, tell me, please, because I love that guy.
Libertarians are Democrats that just don't know it yet.
Yeah, it's so true. And once because you can't be. It's like you can't you can't be part of this and part of that and combine. No, you can't do that. It will never come to fruition in anything you do because you can't take a little bit of bad, a little bit of good, because they won't. They balance themselves back to zero again. You can't do that. But I don't think people realize that when they're looking at things. It just isn't. They don't have the reasoning capabilities to do that to begin with. It's not part of them, so they're not going to understand it. So there's no point in spending all kinds of time trying to explain something that people just won't grasp. They won't get it. I learned that in the trades where I asked my dad certain questions, and he said, "There's no point going out trying to explain it unless they've done it for themselves. They're never going to understand it. So quit wasting your time doing that and go on." And it's very true because they're never going to understand it anyway. So there's no point in going through the whole thing. But
The
yeah.
Libertarian Party in general cannot get their shit together at all.
Oh, today, if you look at the
Oh,
mess of things
awful.
now, oh
Yeah,
my
look,
gosh,
even if Rand Paul ran for
leadership of it.
government, his own party would destroy him. Now, there's a reason he runs as a
Oh,
Republican because he knows
did,
this.
did you
They're,
see that
they're
leader
like,
that ran?
they'd be like, hey, dude, we want fucking free legalized weed. And then we want, like, look, they're the hippie party.
Yeah.
They're the hippie party of the Democrats of the 1950s. So
Hey,
they're
that's true
not
though.
super
Yeah.
progressive. They're the
I,
60s Democrat Party.
yeah, and you know what? There's nothing really, I guess, wrong. with that in some regards. I like Rand Paul a lot, but my
Yeah,
goodness,
sure. Yeah, but
I
he
could.
keeps blocking Trump's issues.
Did you see the leader that they ran on the East Coast there, the Libertarian leader? He was a nightmare. That I think he was trans. I can't
Chase. I
remember.
believe his last name was Chase, or well, maybe that was his
Uh,
first name. He was all like, yeah, yeah.
oh God,
He
who
was
would vote
totally
now?
into
I know
trans
who's.
issues and transing
Yeah,
kids. When
taking their time.
I literally watched their of the DNC, of the RNC,
Uh-huh.
and you officially elect somebody to be the leader. I watched the Libertarian convention, and I saw that happen, and I was just like,
Yeah.
"What?
Well,
What?
our one
Like
friend from
that's
Florida.
the guy you think is libertarian, and that's who could win a presidency? You
Yeah.
guys are freaking screwed,
I
libertarians."
know.
And to the
I know.
libertarian friends that listen to us, or maybe listen to us later, look, I don't have a problem with your party. I have a problem with your party's choices. And
And remember those friends we had,
call
running?
me because I'll explain it more.
Yeah,
Jesus.
remember our friends we had, especially the one from Florida. I forget his name now. We used to talk to quite a bit all the time. He was running. I don't even know what district that was now. Uh,
Yep.
but you know what? It's no surprise to us. What he was going to pull for numbers because of that dum dum they had. Running things on these, and wasn't he from one of the New England states? I just can't remember which one it is now. It wasn't New Hampshire.
No, no,
Was
no,
it
no.
Maine?
Like when he was, I don't remember where he was from, but when he was in Florida, we had a good conversation with him. The reason he ran as libertarian is because here's a big issue, and he's correct. You can't get into the GOP or the DNC. You can't run as a Republican or a liberal because
Uh,
they will outfund you. They'll destroy you. And so he had a good observation.
Well, yeah, but everybody's going to pay their monies to begin with, and if you don't have and I think his was
Eh,
$10,000 or $12,000 for the application, and then whatever came after. I can't remember now the numbers that he gave us, but I know. But you know what? That's why you have people like, back in that day, that was I think Rona McDaniel's was the head of the RNC at that time, was she not? I can't remember. Uh,
Rona. Yep, yep.
which there's another dead weight. There's how she got into that position. I don't understand it. I don't know, but she would just yeah. Nobody got the money or the funding that needed it, like our good friend that did. That was Chicago. What was her name now? The Chicago Indiana border. I don't even know what district that was. She was running in now, but she did pretty good for not getting any money from her. I mean,
Yeah.
wow, good for her.
Well,
But yeah,
that's something that really should be looked at is campaign financing, right? So it's
I know.
like most like if it's GOP money, right? It comes from the turtle, Mitch McConnell,
Oh, God. Can that guy
and
please
he's
go?
not going
Can
to
he
fund.
please go? That guy finally?
Oh, I
I
know.
mean,
Well, all right. Primaries
painful.
matter.
Yeah,
Primaries matter far more than general
in
elections.
his primary, his
You've
behind right
got
out of there.
But here's the problem: they're sitting on billions of dollars. So
I know,
when
I
friends
know.
of ours, we could name them, but we're not going to tonight. Friends of ours that are running to primary them, the only support they get is from us.
Uh,
They can't advertise. They don't get any money.
mm.
Right? It's just yeah.
Hey, but you know what? A lot of them did well, anyways.
They
I think.
did,
I think
and
now it's like more
that's
than
the
half
reason
got
why we do
through.
this. That's the
Yeah.
reason why we do this.
But good
Uh,
for them, anyways. I mean,
it,
that was a good fight.
dude, if we can
To
get them 10 more votes in their district, that's 100% why we talk about it or bring them up.
huh.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
And
and
we're
that was.
tiny. We're small. We're small
Mhm.
podcast, right?
But you know what? It was just a good thing that I was surprised at how many did succeed. I mean, if you get just over half, getting through on hardly any money. And let's face it, if you got no money, you're going nowhere. You know that, right? I mean, if you're running for office and you have not a dime, you ain't getting in. We both know that's a fact of life today. It shouldn't be that way. I know that, but it is that way. So if you don't have somebody that you know holding those purse strings, uh, forget it. You might as well just succeeded the fact that an enemy is getting in that you don't care for, or somebody else in your place. But yeah, that's the sad fact of the whole thing. Disappointed, but yeah, I was so happy that so many got through. But yeah, let's go back to that the Libertarian Party. Oh my goodness, what a
Well,
nightmare!
yeah, yeah.
I forget that. I gotta remember that guy's name now. I just can't think of it.
All right, right, yeah,
But
yeah,
anyways,
no,
it doesn't matter. It's
but
it's,
you're
it's
right,
gone. Oh, no.
but having a social media presence is also a big thing too, because name
Uh-huh.
recognition
Yeah.
can sometimes outweigh
Mm-hmm.
money.
Mm,
Like if you have a massive presence on
that's the,
Facebook,
yeah, but that's the whole
I'm
point of
not on
having the money for
Facebook.
advertising.
I'm not.
Yeah, no,
Like,
me either. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
if you have massive
Facebook.
presence on YouTube, if you have massive presence on Rumble here or on X, you can make up the difference. You can.
You know what? Yeah, the money's for the advertising to get name recognition, anyways. But I'm just glad right now you guys did what you needed to do. Trump's in, Republicans are in. The Democrats are just scattered now. They're scattered, and they don't even have true leadership right now. They're nothing. We have to do that same thing right now, Sean. We have to get back our house in order, literally, and get rid of all these. I don't even know if I call them dreamers. They're thinking things that can never ever happen, but they think it will for some God for no reason. I don't know why, but they have no. And I guess I could just come out and say it. The reasonability of these people is non-existence. They couldn't reason their way out of the paper. Have you heard some lawyers and judges and some of the dumb statements they make? You're thinking, I thought you were supposed to be the educated ones. You're sounding more like a fourth grader right now. You can't even you can't reason your way out of the paper bag. I mean, and you guys are the ones leading this clown show that you're calling some type of a DOJ department. No, not happening. Yeah,
Right.
so it's a disappointment I have with some of these liberals that people seem to worship and put on these pedestals. That wow, I mean, yeah, dum dums, just complete dum dums. Uh,
Did you see? I don't know if you got a chance to get online today, but the freak out over the senator, American senator, finally got to meet with a El Salvadorian
oh God, why you go?
gangster.
Why is everybody going back to that? The guy's a crook, a criminal murderer. Why is everybody getting that guy a second chance or the time of day? Let it go.
They're not.
Let him stay there.
They're
And
not.
why?
Uh,
Okay.
but they're not. But what I want to, what's interesting to me is that the Democrat Party has decided to. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna save MS-13 gang members as opposed to save our constituents in our district. And so you have a senator fly there. I believe he's from Delaware, and he had this
Huh,
great
I've
meeting.
seen that. I
And
did
he
hear
said
about that.
he
Yeah.
did a thing on C-SPAN where it's like, yeah, we weren't drinking the margaritas. Well, there were fucking margaritas set out for them with salt on them. So if anybody says, "Hey, that was water," why do you put salt on top of a
It
water
was.
glass?
It was Margaret. We already know that. I did see that one
It's a
story.
margarita. And, and,
I,
and, and you guys are like, "Oh, he's a hero." That's yeah, like, look, let's just be obvious. He's not a hero. He's a loser. He
yeah.
he's not paying attention to his constituents and trying to make their lives better. He is
Yeah,
literally trying to bring home a domestic terrorist. And if you look at the tattoos
murderer.
across his hands, it says murderer, and on the other hand, it says MS-13.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
didn't know. But I don't even know how you know that. But yeah, you'll know that. But that's not even the point of the matter, though. Why, if you're supposed to be representing your people and doing what their wishes are, why are you running down there? Because I don't think his constituents in whatever offices or area. What'd you say that was again? It was a New England state. I don't think
Delaware.
that's what the Delaware. Oh yeah, Joseph. Yeah, of that one. I don't think they would want him on their dime and time when you could be doing more important things, running down there, wasting everybody's money and time, and then trying to bring some murderer by. And didn't the president say go through your the White House or go through the president's office and send them back packing or something? I can't remember. I heard something about that. I guess it was yesterday or the day before. I can't remember. But yeah, just stymied the guy saying, no, follow the proper channels and go through your government, your president. I don't know if that surprised him or if he knew that was going to happen, but I'm glad that was going to intrigued him. Get lost. Go to the proper channels. Quit bothering me. Because
Well,
he's getting
all
him
right.
in trouble. I mean, so
Well, yeah, that totally happened, and then I guess he was welcomed back, and that's where Bukele set up this whole dining event where the U.S. senator was able to sit there and have
uh,
margaritas with a terrorist member of MS-13
hey.
who already had deportation orders under the Biden administration that was just never affected.
All right, here's my question. Now, if he's in what country is that again? He's from
El Salvador.
El Salvador. Why isn't he in jail there?
He is.
He's in jail. Well, how
Yeah,
how'd
yeah,
you
no, but
how'd you get the
President
margaritas to the how'd you get the margaritas to the guy in jail?
President
You had to take him out,
Bukele President
huh?
Bukele brought him out and then
Oh,
put him
okay.
back.
But why did he do that? Like for entertainment for us, or why? Why did he do that? Just to make a big show,
Trolling.
for
He was trolling. He's
oh,
trolling.
so he's like
He's
Trump.
trolling.
Perfect.
No, literally, he
What
was
a good sense of
trolling.
humor then. I didn't know
Oh,
that.
hell
That's
yeah.
great.
Bukele has
Love
a
that.
great sense of humor.
Maybe him and Trump talked
Fantastic
about that
sense of
before he
humor.
left. I don't know. Oh my
Yep.
god. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt the two of them did swap a couple notes before he actually left. And, hey, if this happens, I could see it. Be fun and funny. Oh my gosh, yeah. You gotta
Dude,
love
it's
Trump.
good. It's super
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Besides, you know what?
Bukele's incredible.
If you didn't have Trump in office right now, who would you have there steering the ship? I'm telling you, they'd run to the ground so fast. I mean, yeah, you ran a country all right into the ground. Biden did it in record time. It didn't even take him 4 years to run the country in the ground, did you? Well, I should say Barry Serrato. He
Uh,
started the whole thing.
that's
So
a podcast we need to have. I think that started with Barry DeSoto
just so
uh, during his his leadership role.
maybe not, because the guy was totally fake and everything about the guy, and so was his fake
No,
wife.
but
Gosh,
this is where
whatever.
well, this is where with Barry DeSoto, this is where the Americas got went heavy on socialism.
Hmm.
And remember,
Yeah.
Barry DeSoto said, "We are going
Going to
to
change the face of America,
we're going to change the face of America. We're going
and
to
he did.
and he said
To,
drastically.
and he did for the worse, not the better. He did it to the detriment of America and Americans, not for the better. And I think he must have been laughing to himself as he was uttering those words because, wow. And Canada went through the same thing almost the exact same time we had this Trudeau guy, just as crooked as his old man was in the 70s, because he was prime minister of Canada in the 70s. You wouldn't know that, but it's true. And he was also a card carrying member of the Socialist Communist Party, pardon me, in the 60s. The media neglected to tell everybody that in the early 70s when voting the guy in, of course, because that's how crooked the media's been, especially in Canada here with our CBC taxpayer funded network, snooze, because it's not news, it's all propaganda. And by the way, most of this stuff's not news anyways. It's sensationalism of what you want people to think by brainwashing them. So we don't really have a news cycle or anything up here. We got Rebel News that's pretty much, I'd say, close to what your Fox News would be, but Fox has got too liberal too, so I don't even watch that. But yeah,
Totally agree.
that's pretty much all we got left. The Sun used to be kind of right wing, but even they got they're paid up by the government, to say what they wanted. I see the hands. The Jim
Are,
Earns are flying. The
are,
Jim Earns.
are we not the news for the
Oh,
Canucks?
oh, well, you know what? That's why I always used to follow Megan missions so much, all the spaces, because that's why I got. That's why when we talked about who's racing to the bottom
It's
the quickest, is it America or
it's not
Canada?
even Mega Mission. It's Sean Strom and the Canuck.
Well, yeah, yeah, today, yeah. But back in the day when I used to always go there to get our news, the real news, because we couldn't get it here, and we still don't, by the way. So much of it is censored. But yeah, and just listening to what was happening, in America and here, and being able to report back and forth was so handy, so wonderful. But yeah, we don't have that now anymore. We could still get that back, but I guess mission accomplished. You don't really need to now. But yeah, it was a great space. And now here we are. Yeah, now we're doing more news, but other things as well, more important things. Today was a very important day, and what we had to celebrate and worship. And you know what? Sunday's coming up, so there's that.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally agree. And I hope, right, tonight or today was special, but I really hope that Canucks can get some information when we do the Yankee and the Canuck podcast. Which we just said this was special edition. Obviously, it's a
Yeah,
good
this is
Sunday
yeah.
edition.
I
Uh,
wasn't I wasn't planning on doing the one we had today or yesterday. They just kind of came up, and yesterday's
well,
came
yeah,
up.
today was all my idea, but yesterday was you. You just went off the rails.
Yeah, it was just stupid the way we had this. Well, don't even get me going on these supposed planned out debate stages, and it's more cartoons and all for show. It's not
I
reality,
listen.
you know.
I'll talk to you offline about some of that stuff, but I don't want to do. In since we are online and we're live, apparently we're not on Twitter. I got a message. I'll
Uh,
figure out what that is. No, but yeah, we don't pre-program these podcasts.
oh yeah,
We really
yeah. We
don't. We maybe come up with an idea, and I just said, "Hey, I really want you, Edward, tonight to just kind of talk about Good Friday," and then we went. That
and you
was
know what?
it. We
We
don't.
don't
This
have all
isn't
the editing.
scripted. It's not scripted. It's not edited.
Yeah, we don't.
Right?
It's not a polished like all these other people. Do all the clipping, editing, and everything. They
Yeah.
have yeah, we just don't do that. We just do it. And it is what it is. It's truthful. It's what we know to be true at that time to the best of our abilities, and we do some work into
Mm-hmm.
it or put some into it. So yeah, it's not just because we feel a certain way. Like this. Oh my gosh, don't we're trying to tidy things up here. Not don't get me going with the feelings of the libtards plays will be here all night.
Well, I'm not gonna
But you
kick
know
it.
what? With this, it's good that we do some of these because at least we can tell the people and the real news of what's going on. And you know what? All's not lost. There's so much hope that we have, and we don't. I guess we don't demonstrate that enough. Maybe leave people hanging like we did back on the X Spaces. Maybe more. And I know the truth's not always a very comfortable place to be. We both know that, but there is still hope. We still have a fighting chance at so many things that we don't talk about enough. And good stories. There's some really good feel good stories out there that give us and inspire us the hope that's needed to feel better about the nations and ourselves and families. So yeah, we can't forget about those either. Yeah, of course, the bad news always seems to take precedence, but
Right.
doesn't when you have.
Right. Like the doom scroll is so easy to talk
Yeah.
about.
Mm,
But tonight we talked about Jesus's doom scroll
yeah.
and what he did for us. And I think these things are important.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we're gonna continue to bring you content like that. So, like again, we appreciate you. we're surprised at how many of you actually tune in and watch us, and we love you all. We
Thankful,
actually,
not just I'm thankful for that because we can all get together and share different ideas and messages back and forth. If there's any discrepancies or whatever, we can all talk and get through those and make the corrections if there is needed to be any. But yeah, I'm thankful for that. I appreciate that. So yeah,
yeah,
good one.
absolutely. So on that, any inquisitions for people we don't know, Sean Stromb, STROMB at gmail.com. Send me a request if you want to be on the podcast. I think that's a good idea. We'll talk about more of this stuff later. Edward, why don't we close this one out? I think it was a good
All
one.
right. Yeah, we spent more than we were supposed to, but man, it's Friday, or yeah, it's
Yeah,
still a good day.
man, we
So,
went
well,
almost 6 minutes over. Let's
oh
close it
no!
out.
All
Let's
right,
close it
you have a
out.
good night, John, and talk to you
You too.
later.
Man,
All
I'll
right,
talk to you. Yeah,
all
I'll
right.
talk to you soon. Have a good Easter.
Oh yes.